Time is not something your brain measures. It's something your brain makes up. There is no clock in your head. There's a rough guess, stitched together from attention, novelty, and memory, and that guess gets it spectacularly wrong in both directions every single day. That's why a boring meeting can last a geological era while an entire summer vanishes in a blink. There are 12 ways your brain bends time. By the end of this video, you'll know why last week feels like yesterday, why the way home is shorter, and why the moment you call now is already over. Ready? Let's waste some time properly. First, a trick you can catch in the next 10 seconds. Noodle glances at the wall clock. The second hand just stops. It hangs there, frozen, for what feels like a second and a half. Then it ticks on normally, like nothing happened. Noodle taps the clock. The clock is fine. Here's what happened. When your eyes jump from one point to another, the world would smear into a blur, so your brain deletes the blur and then covers the gap by stretching whatever you see first when you land. You didn't see a frozen second hand. You saw an ordinary one, backdated to fill a hole in your vision. Your brain edited a piece out of your life and hid the seam. That's chronostasis. Ever stared at a clock that seemed to stall? You just did it. Next, how to make 5 minutes last a lifetime. Noodle is waiting for the microwave. 30 seconds left. He watches the numbers. 29, 28. Each digit takes roughly a year. Meanwhile, his friend, scrolling in the next room, blinks and the food is ready. Same 30 seconds. Two completely different lengths. Here's the mechanism. Your sense of duration is built from how much attention you spend on time itself. Attention is the meter. Watch the clock and every tick gets counted, logged, and felt. Look away and huge chunks pass uncounted and never get billed to your day. So the more you want time to move, the slower it goes, which is possibly the rudest design decision in the human brain. That's attentional time dilation. Ever watched a countdown and felt it stretch? You just did it. This next one is the opposite trick, and it's why you look up and it's dark outside. Noodle sits down to fix one small thing on his bike. He is completely inside the problem. No clock, no phone, no thoughts about lunch. Then he looks up and 4 hours are gone. Not slow, not fast. Missing. Here's why. Time isn't tracked by a dedicated organ. It's a byproduct of attention. And when a task takes all of it, there is nobody left to count. The hours don't feel long or short in the moment, because in the moment there is no feeling of duration at all. You only notice the whole afterwards when you check the window. That's flow. Ever lost an evening to something you loved and couldn't say where it went? You just did it. Next, why your first day somewhere feels twice as long as your 50th. Noodle's first day in a new city. One single day, and it contains 100 things. New streets, new smells, a bakery, getting lost. It feels enormous. 6 months later, an identical day passes in what feels like 20 minutes. Nothing was different, and that is exactly the problem. In the lab, this shows up beautifully. Play someone a row of identical shapes and slip in one odd one, and people swear the odd one stayed on screen longer. It didn't. Novelty makes the brain work harder, and more processing gets read as more time. Familiar days get filed under, same as yesterday. That's the oddball effect. Ever had a strange day that felt like a week? You just did it. This next one happens every time you go anywhere. The drive to the new restaurant takes forever. Noodle checks the map twice, misses a turn, wonders if the place even exists. The drive home, exactly the same road, exactly the same traffic, takes about 9 minutes apparently. Same distance, same duration, half the feeling. Researchers have tested this on real journeys and even on cyclists riding identical routes, and the way back reliably feels shorter. The best explanation is expectation. On the way there, the trip feels longer than you predicted, so on the way back you brace for a long one and it comes in under budget. Add familiarity, which kills novelty, and the return gets crushed. That's the return trip effect. Ever come home and half the time you left in? You just did it. Next, a trick that runs in 2 directions at once. Noodle takes a week off. The week evaporates. It's Sunday again before he's finished unpacking, and he is furious about it. But 3 months later, that same week feels huge in his head. Packed. Rich, like a small, separate life. Meanwhile, the 3 ordinary months that followed have shrunk to almost nothing. This is the holiday paradox, and it happens because you have 2 clocks. In the moment, time is measured by attention, and holidays take all of it, so they run fast. Looking back, time is measured by how many memories got made, and holidays make a pile, so they stretch. Fast to live, long to remember. Routine does the exact opposite. That's the holiday paradox. Ever had a great trip vanish and then grow? You just did it. This next one is why why the years keep accelerating. For a 5-year-old, 1 year is a fifth of everything that has ever happened. For a 50-year-old, the same year is a 50th. Same 365 days, and one of them is an era and the other is a coffee break. That ratio is half the story. The other half is repetition. Childhood is nothing but first times, and first times make memories. And memories are what your brain counts when it measures a decade. Adult years, run on autopilot through the same commute and the same weeks, leave almost nothing to count, so they collapse. The fix is annoying but real. Do new things. That's the proportional theory. Ever wondered where the last 5 years went? You just did it. Next, the one everyone gets wrong, including Noodle. Noodle slips off a ladder. It's a 2-second fall, and he will tell you for years that it took a minute, that he saw everything in slow motion, that he had time to think. Very cinematic. Also not what happened. A neuroscientist called David Eagleman dropped volunteers backwards off a tower into a net, with a screen strapped to their wrist, flashing numbers too fast to read. If time really slowed down, they would have read the numbers. Nobody could. What terror does is not slow the world. It makes your brain record in far more detail, and later, more detail gets read as more time. The slow motion is added in the edit. That's the slow motion illusion. Ever had a scary second stretch out? You just did it. This next one quietly moves events around. Noodle mentions the concert he went to last year. It was 4 years ago. He mentions a film that came out recently. It's 11 years old. Meanwhile, a boring appointment from 2 weeks ago feels like it happened in another century. Your brain does not store dates. It stores memories and then guesses their age from how vivid they feel. Vivid gets pulled forward, close and recent. Faded gets pushed away. Big public events get dragged toward the present, which is why every anniversary feels wrong. And this is the one that makes you confidently, embarrassingly wrong about when your own life happened. That's telescoping. Ever said last year about something 4 years gone? You just did it. Next, why the same task takes an hour or a month, depending on nothing but the deadline. Noodle has 2 weeks to write 1 page. Day 1, he researches fonts. Day 4, he reorganizes his desk. Day 13, nothing exists. Day 14, 90 minutes before it's due, he writes the whole page. And it's fine. Work expands to fill the time available, and your sense of how long something takes expands with it. A distant deadline feels like a lot of room, so the task inflates to match, and the actual doing gets postponed until the deadline turns into a wall. Give the same person 1 afternoon, and the page still gets written. That's the deadline effect. Ever finished a 2-week job in 1 panicked evening? You just did it. The second to last one is smaller, stranger, and running right now. Noodle flips a light switch. The light comes on. Obvious? Boring. Except the switch and the light were not simultaneous, and your brain knows it, and it lies to you anyway. When you cause something, your brain drags the action and the result together in time, so they feel glued. Press, light. 1 event. In the lab, people report their own button press as happening later than it did, and the resulting beep as earlier than it was. The gap gets squeezed from both sides. That glue is how you feel like the author of anything. Agency isn't a fact you check. It's a feeling manufactured by bending time by a few dozen milliseconds. That's intentional binding. Ever felt certain you made something happen? You just did it. And the last one is the boss level, because it isn't played on your past or your future. It's played on right now. Noodle claps his hands. He sees the clap and hears the clap at the same instant. Perfect. Except light and sound travel at wildly different speeds. His eyes and ears process at different speeds too, and the signals arrive in his head milliseconds apart, out of order. He experiences none of that. Here's why. Your brain waits. It collects the slow senses and the fast senses, holds everything back, and only then serves you a single, tidy, synchronized moment, roughly 1/10 of a second after it actually happened. The now you are experiencing is a broadcast on delay. Nothing you have ever seen was live. Your brain doesn't just bend time, it builds it, slightly late, and hands it to you as the present. That's the delay of now. Ever felt like you were living in the moment? You just did it. So, 12 ways your brain bends time, all running while you watch this. You can't switch them off, but you can use them. Want a longer life? Fill it with first times. Want a shorter wait? Stop watching the clock. Want a moment to last? Pay attention to it, because attention is the only currency time actually accepts. Next week we go after something closer to home. Every excuse your brain invents to keep you exactly where you are. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And tell me in the comments, which one got you? Use your Noodle. See you in the next one.